the time she was 13 by working as a stripper. She would come from the club to school with a bag full of money, a fur coat, and a gun. My best friend, Lisa, had been born in jail. She shuttled between foster care and her mother's house till she was 8. While living with her mother, she was abused. She actually looked forward to going back into foster care. Lisa could be just cold. If you messed with her in any way, she could hurt you without blinking.
Surprisingly, Lisa is now a high school special teacher and a mother and wife. All the fighting eventually got me arrested. Of course, when I turned 16, I was picked up for robbing some girl on the subway. I remember being handcuffed and taken to jail by these two black undercover cops who must have been the most gorgeous men I had ever seen in my life. And I was so embarrassed. The handcuffs were like chains around my wrist. I felt like a slave. In my head, I kept saying, "This is not true. You are not really like this." But then this other thought kept coming. "Don't fool yourself, Isis. This is you." I was in jail for a week and a half. I called my mother from the precinct house. She said, "Little girl, these people you're running with, they are not your friends. You have no friends. Your only friends are your families." But I still didn't get it. I thought Decept was my family. I loved my Decept sisters and brothers. We would do things that families did, like go to the beach and have picnics, baby showers, and dance parties. But we also went to funerals together. Members of Decept were dying all the time. Others of us were drug addicts. Still, others were in jail with life sentences, and some girls had 2, 3 babies with no account guys. I was getting tired of losing everybody one by one, and beneath all the toughness, I was hurting.
By age 17, I was going to funerals every week. And then Frankie got shot. He was my heart. Walking home after his funeral, I told myself this does not matter. But that night, I went into my mother's room and climbed into her bed. I needed to reach out in the dark and know she was there. The whole night I dreamed about Frankie. The next morning, I thought the weird sensation that she was looking down at me in my casket. She was crying. She said, "Isis, I want you to live. I want you to choose to live. I don't want to bury you 10 feet under. I want to see your children." From that day, things began to change. I started showing up for more classes so I wouldn't get into trouble. But sometimes I just want to be with my friends, and stuff would start happening. If I said, "I'm going home," they'd be like, "Isis, you're selling us out?" When I did go to class, a couple of my teachers began to talk, taking an interest. One was my writing teacher, a black man named Mr. Mason. He encouraged me to write about what was going on through in the gang. The other one was Mrs. Beasley, a tough little 70-something black woman. Most teachers at my high school were scared to death of me, but not Mrs. Beasley. She would challenge me to try harder.
One person helped save my life, a cop. The next time John Galea saw me, the cops had pulled me in for a lineup. He cussed me out, called me a little hoodlum, but he saw something else in me too, because he kept telling me, "Isis, you're smart, you can do better." So these 3 people hooked up with my mother and the principal of the school, and they came up with a plan. They told me that if I would go to class and keep out of trouble, they would allow me to graduate. They arranged for me to attend Fisk University, the well-known black school in Nashville. We knew I had to get out of New York because all these people who knew I didn't have Decept protection anymore were calling my house every day, threatening my family. As long as I was there, my mother and sisters weren't safe. Well, I graduated. I went to Fisk and cooled my heels for a year, but I didn't just fit in. People in Nashville still saw me as this bad New York City gang girl. I wasn't that person anymore. My consciousness had changed. So after a year, I transferred to the State University of New York at Stony Brook, Long Island. I met my husband to be Alfonso Grant. They're a big football playing, clean living jock who is now a lawyer. He was so sweet to me, even after I told him my history. I think he fell in love with me because by then I had started to fall in love with myself. I was taking good care of myself, studying hard, majoring in social work, and I meditated and prayed a lot. I was beginning to understand that God had a plan for me. After college, I got married and later went on to earn a master's degree in social work at New York University. Life can be amazing.
Still, I regret all the hurt I caused. People come up to me, even now, with scars on their face or body, and they'll say, "Isis, can you remember me?" Some of them actually laugh when they say that, but most of them are really bitter. Like the woman I met in the store where I was buying shoes for my first job interview. This woman holding a baby comes up to me, and tears are running down her face. And she has a scar on her cheeks, and she says, "Isis, you don't know me, do you? You don't even remember what you did to me?" And the horrible thing was, I didn't remember. I told her, "Whatever I did to you, I'm so sorry, so sorry." She just stood there, crying and shifting the baby from head to hip. And when she saw I still didn't remember, she said, "If I didn't have this baby with me, I'd kill you right now." And she walked out of the store. There are faces I still see in my dreams, people we fight with who later heard have died. I felt responsible because I was a part of the violence that killed them. But I can't change what I did. All I can do now is try to give back, try to make good. On the promise I made to God, I promised that if I got out of my teens life, if God spared me, I'd use my life to help save kids like me. These days I do one-on-one therapy with kids at risk for involvement in gangs. I get referrals through the Madison Square Boys and Girls Club, and I work with the House of the Lord's Church community outreach program in Brooklyn. I do workshops in schools, and I travel the subway a lot and talk to the kids because most New York City gangs still operate out of the subways. A whole new generation of Decepts is out there now, as well as other groups like the Latin Kings, the Crips, and the Bloods.
I work mostly with gang girls. Boys with these issues do better with male mentors. The truth is, every boy and girl out here needs a mentor to help them see what choices they can make, what programs they can participate in. If you're going to tempt these kids away from the thrill of violence, and violence can be an incredible high, you have to make them understand that somebody cares about them, that they are not invisible or powerless, that their life means something. Parents in particular need to lay down clear guidelines, give their kids lots of reinforcement, and most of all, pay attention to who their kids are becoming, who their kids' friends are, what interests them. None of us is perfect. We all get worn down by life sometimes, but we have no choice but to keep on trying to reach our children. Looking back, I see that my own mother never stopped caring, though she didn't always know how to help me. And the most important thing she ever did for me was to stand at my bedside. And that morning, after Frankie's funeral, challenging me to live.